As crazy as it sounds, I paid off a house selling used clothes. And 8 years ago, that would have sounded totally insane to me because I was looking at listings, wondering why they weren't getting any views. I was wondering if this whole reselling thing would even work for me, where I live with no good brands in the thrift stores, overpriced thrift stores. I don't know what your financial goals and dreams are with reselling, but chances are you're struggling just to make sales. You're thinking, I'm doing everything right. Why is it that my listings are just sitting there? If that's you, then this video is for you. Paying off a house did not come from one magic flip. It actually came from 7 shifts that turned confusion and overwhelm into consistent sales. I'm gonna lay it all out here coming up. Well, hey, my name is LeeMeier. I'm a mom of 4, and I've made well over 100,000 net profit selling used clothes online. But in the beginning, it was a real struggle. Early on, I thought if I just fix this one listing, if I just tweak this title, if I just find better brands, then sales will turn around, but they didn't. I was looking small when I should have been looking big picture. Here's what I started asking instead. Do I have enough active listings? And not just active, but how many were listed recently? Because 300 stale listings from a year ago is not the same as 300 listings today with 50 listed just in the last month. I also started asking, do I have a mix of price points? Do I have consistent listing momentum? Do I have items that people actually want? That one hurt a little. Once I stopped treating every listing like its own separate emergency and started thinking about the big picture, that's when sales started becoming consistent. And it's what allowed me to be able to send in an extra $500, $1,000, $2,000 to the mortgage payment. Not one lucky flip, but stability, consistency. Now I have something to confess. I almost quit because I didn't have access to good brands. I didn't think that this would work for me. My first thrift trip, I was so overwhelmed. I didn't even know where to start. I had my BOLO list in hand of the brands that everybody said would be there. They weren't there. And I left so discouraged, thinking that this would not work for me in this small town that I'm in, with limited thrift stores, with higher priced thrift stores, and no luxury brands, so to speak of. I was looking at other resellers online and going, they have better inventory than me. They're luckier than me. That belief almost ended everything. But then one word changed it all. Instead of why won't this work, I started asking, how can I make this work? It sounds crazy simple, but that one little word can really change everything, because when you start asking yourself how, your brain is automatically going to come up with solutions. You might start asking yourself things like, how can I source differently? How can I make this work for me? How can I make this work with my time schedule? It's much, much easier to make excuses. The thrift stores are overpriced. I don't have anything good where I live. I don't have time. But I'm telling you, friend, I do not want to let those excuses hold you back from what could be, whatever your dream is. And I want to encourage you to make a commitment to be a will person. Not a can't person, not a won't person, but a will person. You will find a way, you will make this work. And I know that you can do it, and I'm here to support you. This next shift, this was huge. In the beginning, it took me an hour just to get a listing up, just to make $7. I thought that I had to have perfect photos, a perfect title, the perfect pricing. I would spend so much time researching, end up feeling totally overwhelmed and wondering if it's even worth it. Maybe that's exactly where you are. Here's what changed for me. I started building simple decision frameworks so that I only had to make a decision one time. We're talking title formula, sourcing filter, listing flow. I made decisions once and then reused them again and again. And that really sped up the entire sourcing and listing process. The takeaway here is that speed matters. You cannot pay off a house. You cannot build your vacation fund, build your emergency fund, whatever your goal is. You cannot get there at a one listing an hour speed. You need volume and repetition, and that's what builds your consistency and momentum with bringing sales in. Now, if titles are the place where you're getting stuck and you're staring at that blank box, wondering what to type in, I have a free keywords list for you. It helps you stop second guessing and write titles that actually sell. That's one of the simplest ways to remove friction. It's linked below. Shift number 4. I used to obsess over impressions, the traffic to a listing, how many views the listings were getting, and how many watchers I had on my items. I was trying to figure out what was wrong. Why is nobody even looking at these listings? But then I realized something. You don't build momentum looking at yesterday, looking at the past. Instead, you build momentum today. Instead of why aren't my things selling? I shifted to how many seeds, how many listings did I plant this week? Sales will always follow activity. Reaping, the harvest does not happen until after the sowing. And when I started focusing on planting consistently, that's when daily sales became a normal thing. And those daily sales are what stack into $500, $1,000, $5,000. This next shift is a big one. And I remember being here as well, thinking if I could just find the one $300 flip. But that wasn't my reality. I wish it was, but it wasn't. For me, reaching my goal happened $28, $42, $63 at a time, over and over again. A mix of bread and butter items, higher end items on the rare occasion I would come across them, and educated gambles. But your mix is gonna look a little bit different from mine. Some people do have access to higher end brands, and that's good for them, but that's not everybody. Some people have limited storage. Some people can source daily, and others can only go once a week or once a month. The point is, there's not one correct mix of inventory. There's not one correct strategy for bringing in consistent sales. It's going to look different for everybody. And that's a lot of the reason why you might hear conflicting advice among YouTubers. No one person is correct, but you have to find the mix, the strategy for you. When you do that, your sales start becoming consistent. And that predictability, that consistency is what gives you the confidence to do things like send in extra payments to the mortgage. Shift number 6. Now, this one is contrary to what a lot of resellers are telling you on YouTube. And I may be stepping on a lot of toes here, and I'm okay with that. So I'm just gonna come out and say it. You do not need to list daily. Yes, you heard that right. You do not need to list daily. What you actually need is consistency that fits with your life. For example, when my kids were home for the summer, Saturday morning was my listing day. I committed to getting 50 items up every Saturday, and it worked. Sales stayed the same as they had been of listing 50 items spread out over the week. Mind blown. How does that work? Well, consistency compounds over time. It doesn't matter if it's daily, weekly, or monthly. You just need to be consistent over the long haul. The more important thing is that your model has to match the season that you're in. If you've got limited space, you're gonna need to adjust your inventory. If you work full-time, you're gonna need to batch list. If you've got a busy season going on, you're gonna have to maybe work in shorter sessions. There's not one right way of doing things, only the right way for your life right now. Shift number 7 is I broke my goal into smaller pieces. When I started with reselling and realized that that extra money could be amplified through getting my mortgage paid off and not having to pay interest on it, I realized the power and the impact that this could make on my life. But at that point, $100,000 felt impossible. It was actually $103,000 that was left on the mortgage when I got this brilliant idea to list to freedom. But it seemed unattainable. It seemed not real. It seemed like, how am I ever gonna get there? It's this goal way out in the distance that's never gonna happen. So I didn't focus on 100,000. Instead, I broke it down into smaller increments, into 100 little houses, each house representing $1,000. Every time I had some extra money to send in $1,000, I'd color in one of those houses. If I had 500, color in half of a house. Big goals can become overwhelming, but once you break them down, they suddenly become doable. Maybe your goal is to save $2,000 for a vacation, or $5,000 for an emergency fund, or $20,000 towards debt payment. Break it into 100 smaller pieces and make it visible. Put it in front of you where you're not gonna miss it, on your bathroom mirror, on your refrigerator. What you have in front of you is going to keep you motivated, even when things get tough, even when you have bad days. Obstacles will come. Mistakes will happen. Maybe you'll price something wrong, send the wrong item. I've done that way too many times myself. Maybe you'll buy some duds or have some weeks of slow sales. Having that goal front and center, that's the difference to keep you moving and keep you on track. If this has inspired you anyway to reach for your goals, but you're still struggling just to make sales, you're still wondering if this can even work for you, I want you to know this. It's probably not just one missing keyword, one toggle, one magic flip. It's that you don't have a clear game plan yet. If that's you, then make sure that you check out the Empowered Reseller. We'd love to welcome you in. And if you're not quite ready for that step yet, then make sure to stick around. Just click or tap the screen to watch the video that I've got up next for you. Click here, and I'll see you there.